Hello and thanks for watching. I'm going to show you how to fold some pentagons, and I promised 4 pentagons, but we're actually going to do 5, and we're going to start with a bit of a race. What is the fastest pentagon that you can fold from a bit of paper? I'm going to start with this. It's not quite A4, it's a bit of scrap paper here. What's the fastest pentagon? We can have a little bit of a race. Ready, steady, go. Ha! Okay, that's a pentagon, of course. You can be the judge of whether you won that one or not, and whether that was interesting or not. I'm more interested here in regular pentagons, and I'm going to show you 4 regular pentagons, except some of them are not regular. But I think each is interesting in its own way, and the challenge for you is to decide which ones are regular pentagons, and can you prove that or show that convincingly. So we're going to start with a sheet of A4 paper. So you're going to need a sheet of A4 paper for this one, and it has to be A4, and that might give you a clue as to some of the properties of A4 and whether that can come into part of your explanation as to whether this is indeed a regular pentagon. It's probably the easiest one to fold. So you take your piece of A4 and fold it corner to corner diagonally, like this. Really nice, good fold like that. Okay, then you fold it over in half. Like so. But then open it up again, and what you're going to do is you're going to take these edges here, and here, and fold them so they line up down the centre line. So these edges here and here, and fold them so they line up exactly on the centre line, like this. There you go. And the same on the other side. And what you've got there is something that looks remarkably like a regular pentagon. So that's number 1. You've got to decide, is that a regular pentagon? And if not, why not? Okay, number 1. Number 2, you need a little strip of paper. Now the width of here doesn't really matter too much, it can't be too wide. I've used an offcut from another bit of A4 paper, so this is A4 width by about 2 centimetres. But any strip will do. This is kind of interesting. This is not your sort of traditional folding techniques. What you've got to do with this one is kind of do it into a knot. Something like this. It's a bit fiddly. You kind of got to just work it a bit so that it all kind of comes together. Something like this. There you go. That's not perfect. It's a bit baggy on this side. Maybe I'll pull this one through a bit. Tighten that up. Okay, not too bad. That's kind of there, and what I'd like to do is just to fold it back on itself until everything's kind of contained. And what you've got there is a very small pentagon. Is it a regular pentagon? Pentagon number 3. Now, this isn't strictly origami because this involves a cut. And I find this really interesting because I've been looking into something called the fold and cut theorem over the last couple of years. And the fold and cut theorem basically says that any straight-sided shape can be made by folding a bit of paper in a certain fashion and making a single straight line cut with a pair of scissors. And you can make any straight line shape, which is quite phenomenal. There's a website created by the mathematicians who developed the fold and cut theorem, where you can like fold different animals, and also it's quite a fun thing to do to try and do all the letters of the alphabet in this manner. So I do recommend you look up the fold and cut theorem. But I'm going to do a fold and cut pentagon for you, so just give you a taste of what that sort of branch of maths looks like. So follow these instructions. You take your square, it does have to be a square, and we fold it in half, like so. Then the next two folds are just to create a point. So we're going to fold it, but then open them back up again. So I fold that corner across there, and then I open it up and fold it back this way from that corner. And what the purpose of that is actually to get this point here. And I'll just mark it with a pen. We're interested in this point here. Now this bit's quite important. You mustn't do this fold from the open end. You must do this fold from the closed end. Okay. So I take this closed end and make it so that this corner exactly touches the cross that we've made. Okay. And then it's this fold here that I'm interested in. So this corner across to that cross and then smooth it down. So then I take this edge here, and fold it back so it lines up with the fold I just made, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of concertina this rest of this paper behind this fold. So this and like this. Pretty good. So I've done a bunch of folds, and I promise you this is falls under the umbrella, I suppose, of the fold and cut theorem, because I'm going to make a single straight line cut across here, and hopefully end up with a pentagon that looks like a regular pentagon. Is it a pentagon, a regular pentagon or not? You can decide. Okay, pretty pleased with that one. And what is always quite exciting about the fold and cut theorem is what you're left with, which is a piece of paper which has a regular-ish looking pentagon cut out of it. Sometimes it's more exciting than this one, but not too bad. Okay, so that's pentagon number 1, 2 and 3. Which one is regular and which one's not? Now, pentagon 4, you need a square for this one, and this is probably the most complicated one to fold. So, yeah, here goes. So the first thing to do is to fold it in half, like this. Now what we're aiming to do here is to get a fold that goes across this diagonal. Okay, I find these quite difficult to fold sometimes, so I'm gonna give it a go. But this is sometimes where it's a little bit inaccurate. I find it quite tricky. I guess if you're better at origami than I am, you might have more success. But sometimes I find that my diagonal fold doesn't quite hit the corner that I was hoping it was going to. So I think it is worth just getting this one right, because what you end up with is a lot better if you get this fold right. So I've got this diagonal fold across here. Now I'm actually going to open up my square again. And what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to look at it this way. So I'm going to be looking at this diagonal fold that goes from this corner here down to this corner here. And I'm going to take this edge here and make it line up with the fold I just made. Like this. And you can put a pretty strong crease in that one. Okay. Just to emphasise the bit that I'm talking about here, I'm going to put a little cross there up here where that fold meets the top. And I'm going to take this corner and fold from that corner so that the cross I just made, and it might be worth me just transferring that to the back of the bit of paper, so that the cross I made lines up exactly with this centre line. Okay, so we're going to go from that corner up there and just adjust it so that there we go, perfect. It's pretty good. And we're going to fold that pretty strongly. So the cross I made here is exactly on this centre line. I put the line on in pen. You can see that cross is exactly on that centre line. Okay. The next job is to fold from this halfway mark, fold from there so that this corner exactly touches this bit of paper here. something like that. Okay, and now this is a really, really important fold, because this fold here is the side of my pentagon. Okay, so this fold here is the side of my pentagon. This one. So I'm going to fold my bit of paper in half. Now I got this pentagon from a maths paper, and this is classic maths situation because this is as far as it went. It just said it's a bit like you turn a mechanics problem into a quadratic, and the rest is trivial. It's like this fold's done, and there we go, you've done it. And this clearly, well, it's like my first pentagon. This is clearly a pentagon, but I'm aiming for something that is a regular pentagon, or at least looks like it. You can do the maths. You can work the rest of it out for yourself if you like. But essentially, if you fold it in half like this, and then follow that around, then at least we have. I'm going to fold that over so all my folds are on the same side. We have the top of regular pentagon like this, and then you've got to find a way to make sure that you follow it around. So I fold this one in half this way. So I fold this edge in half, so corner to corner, and then that gives me a template for this one. So I kind of fold that one around. You've got to be careful about the lengths, because this is slightly longer, and I've not done that particularly well. Let me try that again. There we go. So I've got a good part of the pentagon, and I've just got to make sure that these ones come to the right point here. So one way to do that is to fold it in half this way. And make it follow it round. Now, like I say, this is the hardest one to fold, and that might give you a little clue as to whether this is or is not a regular pentagon. And herein lies what I would consider to be the great joke, because this is very hard to make it look and feel like a regular pentagon. Okay, not bad. I'm going to leave that one there. In fact, I might fold these over this way just to make it look a little bit better. Now, if you missed the last little bit of how to make this turn into a pentagon, then you were exactly where I was when I read this. Here we go. So the key with this one is those early steps until you've got that first edge, and the rest of it is following it around to follow that edge around the whole pentagon. So we've got 4 regular pentagons. It is your job, the challenge is for you, which one of these, or 2 of these, or 3 of these, or 4 of these are indeed regular pentagons. It ought to be said that none of these are probably actually regular pentagons because of my dodgy folding. What I really mean to challenge you to do is which of these would be regular pentagons if I have folded it perfectly.